Alright guys, so the newest episode of The Acolyte has potentially done something very crazy. We may have just seen the creation of the Knights of Ren by Qimir, who was potentially cast off from both the Jedi and the Sith, leading him to forge his own path and start the Knights of Ren, who Kylo Ren would later join. There's so much evidence for this theory, including that Qimir could actually be Darth Venomous, the rival Sith apprentice to Darth Plagueis. So hit that sub button and let's break it all down. At many points in the show when we see Qimir, especially as he looms over Osha's body, we hear Kylo Ren's theme playing gently in the background. Leslie Headland, the creator of the show, has actually commented on this, saying, "It's there on purpose, but I can't tell you why, and I can't go into what it is, but you shall see." This is a clear indication that Qimir has some kind of relation to Kylo Ren, and the safest connection that they could make is Kylo's Knights being part of a much older order formed by Qimir himself. In the Rise of Kylo Ren comics, we see who the leader of the Knights of Ren was before Kylo, a man simply known as Ren. In a different comic series, we learn just a little bit about the title of Ren and how it was passed down. Once Ben Solo killed Ren, he took on the mantle Kylo Ren. Ren himself had killed the earlier title holder, as he says that he earned everything he has, including his red lightsaber. He took it from the one who held the name before him, an old name representing power and force. Now, Qimir may have gotten this technique or strategy of passing down the title from the Sith, who we know he is probably a part of right now. As we know in canon, the Sith passed their Darth title down by the apprentice killing the master, and that going on and on until the eventual rise of Darth Sidious. From his time as a member of the Sith, Qimir may have gotten inspiration from this system and used it for the Knights of Ren. Now, Qimir setting up the Knights would make it an old title with a brutal tradition by the time of this scene in the comics, and yes, by the way, he did fight Vader, and he barely got out alive by retreating the entire duel. Not only this, but you'll notice that the outfit choice of Qimir and Ren are extremely similar. Ren has his arms and chest exposed with an interesting helmet design, and we see Qimir's full so-called Sith outfit has a unique mask and a cloak with his full arms being exposed and him using a cortosis vambrace on one arm. This is already a very clear indication that he is indeed somehow related to the Order of Ren, but he also gives us a hint himself. When Sol asks who he is, Qimir states that the Jedi would call him a Sith. Many fans took this as an admission that he is indeed part of the Rule of Two, however he chose his words extremely carefully, and I believe he did that on purpose. Being a masked man with a red lightsaber and possibly studying the dark side on top of that would make him appear as a Sith to most Jedi, but he himself never claims to be one. The official Star Wars databank, which is managed by Lucasfilm, even states, while some may call him a Sith, little is known of this Darksider. So with all this in mind, my theory is that Qimir is actually Darth Venomous, who began as a Jedi, was cast out of the Order by his master Venestra, because we see a scar on his back that clearly came from a whip, and we know Venestra uses a light whip before joining Tenebrous, but also being cast out of the Sith, leaving him as a broken, lone dark side user who goes on to create the Knights of Ren, rejecting both of the major Force religions. So it's quite clear to me at least that there is something going on here which doesn't fall into the black and white case of the Jedi or the Sith. Qimir is doing his own thing, using the dark side as a tool to his goal, which appears to be revenge on the Jedi who cast him out, and likely revenge on the Sith who also cast him out, and the show could have massive potential showing us that Osha is actually one of the first Knights of Ren. This is because there's usually one female Knight of Ren every time we see the different versions of Knights of Ren, so maybe there's one slot reserved for a female, and maybe Osha is the first to have that slot. Now yes, this does tie into the sequels, which... yeah, it's debatable, but this is one of the more interesting parts that the sequel set up, and I think this older version of the Knights of Ren was far more powerful than what we saw in episodes 7 and 9, who were honestly pathetic and horrendously written. So what do you think of this theory? Let me know in the comments down below, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more awesome Star Wars content, and if you made it this far, drop a thank Mr. Plagueis.